So recently, I was going through my backlog of games that I had either yet to start or finish, and in doing so, I discovered a game amongst my collection that, in the process of moving into my new place a couple months ago, I had completely forgotten that I was in the middle of working through Virtue's Last Reward, the second entry into the Zero Escape trilogy. And through starting VLR back up, it brought back all the memories and feelings I had from playing the first in the series, 999. And it also had me thinking about how it was criminal that it took me so long to even learn about that game, let alone get around to start playing it. So I wanted to do a sort of cross-review PSA for 999 and try to make sure that others get to experience what was, for me, an absolutely wonderful hidden gem. And Astrid, if you are watching this, consider this my apology for not listening to you back in college and getting the game as you raved about it to me. 999, 9 Persons, 9 Hours, 9 Doors is a visual novel game that features branching narrative paths and gameplay that is done in the style of escape rooms. You're locked inside an area and you have to utilize your environment, search for clues, and use your own critical thinking skills to figure your way out. And the reason you're doing this is because a mastermind by the name of Zero has trapped you and 8 others in a sinking ship, forcing you to play their games or else sink into the ocean along with the ship. It's kind of like an anime version of Saw, except not shitty. There's several points that I want to hit here, so I'm going to keep this as almost entirely spoiler-free as I possibly can. So first off, the characters. 999 features such a wonderful assortment of clearly defined characters, but it goes beyond just, oh, these characters are colorful and different and fun to be around. No, they're all very thoroughly thought out and developed characters. They all bring their own backstories and their own experiences and their own reasons for doing the things that they do in the game. And quite possibly the greatest joy that comes out of 999 is seeing how all these different backgrounds intertwine and build off each other to build what ultimately ends up becoming a fantastic narrative. And then looking at them on a more surface level, they're simply a very fun assortment of personalities that make the game a delightful treat to play through while you learn about these deeper stories. And it makes each different playthrough all the more worth it, getting to see new combinations of characters interacting each and every time. So going off of that, I want to now hit the narrative. One of the things that 999 features is this series of branching narrative paths that you can go down. And something that is quite fun in this game is the following simple fact. You will not get a good end on your first time through, and that is intended. This game was quite literally designed so that multiple playthroughs are necessary. Without delving too deep, the game expects you to play through multiple times, gather new information, trust the wrong people, because on top of the escape room puzzles, the narrative itself is its own puzzle, and one that you get to put together yourself as you journey your way through each playthrough. And honestly, the story they accomplish here is, frankly, astounding in its construction. The story starts out and almost immediately comes off as ridiculously predictable. But as they slowly start introducing more and more concepts, new bits of history, drama, and conflict, it morphs into what then seems like a jumbled mess of unconnected ideas and sheer confusion. But if you keep going through, acquire all the necessary information from playthroughs, make the right choices, and achieve the, quote, true ending, it beautifully ties it all together in what becomes a more stressful and emotional climax than I was frankly ready for in a visual novel, where even though I had all the time in the world to push through, it felt like lives were genuinely on the line. In a visual novel style game, you need a strong story if you want any chance of being successful, and 999 accomplished this with flying colors. So, the gameplay. As mentioned before, the core gameplay of 999 is focused around a series of escape rooms. Contestants party up and tackle various rooms in smaller groups, trying to reach the promised number 9 door, their means of escaping the sinking ship. These escape rooms play out pretty much as any normal escape room would. Interact with the world around you, find clues, find items, solve riddles, try to unlock the door to get out. In total, 999 features 16 possible escape rooms for you to find your way through. Assume somewhere around 30-ish minutes or so per room, your own abilities depending, and that gives you somewhere around 8 hours of escape room joy to experience. While navigating certain rooms proved to be mildly frustrating at points, as a whole, the puzzles were another feature that the game seems to nail, with only a couple small exceptions that I will cover. The difficulty of the puzzles as a whole were not too bad. A few of the puzzles were a fairly straightforward, get this item, now put it here, now take this item, do this, formula, that served more to break up the narrative chunks and give your mind just a mild workout. That being said, there were also a few rooms that certainly required a bit more effort and racking your brain to figure out. But I feel as though they achieved quite a nice balance between these two difficulties. No puzzle ever came off as, oh my god, I'm going to punch a damn hole through the wall, levels of difficulty, but rather served as just enough to keep your mind focused and you glued to your screen trying to suss it out. The collection of easier and moderately more difficult rooms allows for a sense of satisfaction in completing the challenges, but also while making sure you feel like you truly earned your escape. If you're a fan of escape rooms, you will definitely find a lot to love in this game, as the puzzles are all well thought out, creative, and unique from one another. Honestly, the most frustrating thing about the puzzles in this game is usually just physically moving through them using the game's controls. Alright, the writing. The dialogue in this game is simply charming and does a great job at switching seamlessly between building suspense and urgency during the more climactic parts of scenes in the story, and delivering some very fun and humorous banter. The story and characters know how to convey a sense of dread and hopelessness when the story is at its darkest, and it knows how to write some truly endearing and entertaining back and forths during its downtime. Each line delivered by each character drips with their individual personality, and I assert that you could drop the nameplates from the dialogue windows and still maintain a strong grasp on conversations. Having such clearly defined and unique, fleshed out characters made for a more engaging story and made you truly care about the story beats that the game hits. It also helped with the drama and tension that you feel during the escape rooms. Technically speaking, you are in no rush to finish these rooms. Despite the story saying you have 9 hours, in real life you can take all the time you need. Nevertheless, even though time is not a factor, the language, the tone, and the urgency of the characters all make you feel like you are still under pressure, still rushing to beat the clock before you and everyone else goes down. At least, for the most part. This game does suffer from one large issue for me, and it's connected to this sense of urgency that they try to build. So one moment, the characters are trapped inside a room, don't know how to get out. There could be a whack job among them trying to kill them, and possibly some have already died, while time ticks away, leading towards everyone else's deaths as well. So have you guys ever heard about Ice 9? Shit's pretty cool, right? Hang on, let's sit and chat for about 15 minutes on this seemingly irrelevant topic. While some of the conversations brought up have bearing on the plot, and some have more relevance to the second game, just suddenly halting in the middle of an urgent escape room to talk about how cool the Titanic was really kills a lot of the scene's momentum, and after being in the middle of putting together puzzles and solving problems, being forced to sit and read a block of text for 15 minutes can be agonizing. I understand their desire to get this information to the player and have it be through character conversation so we get to build connections and relations with them at the same time, but I feel like this sort of lore dump would have been better suited either to shorter blips of info sprinkled throughout the room, or just having it be before the start of the room or after solving it, so it didn't feel like it broke up the pace of the game so bad, and rather just flowed into the rest of the dialogue for what is a dialogue-heavy game. It's not a deal breaker by any means at all, but I'm also not going to sit here singing the game's praises and ignore a very, very relevant flaw. 999 is a game that I honestly feel can appeal to a much wider range of audiences, and it's a shame that I feel like it's probably going to remain as a fairly niche title that won't see the recognition that it deserves. Maybe it's just me, maybe it was only me who was blind to this game's existence, But in case that's not it, I want to try to expose more people to it. I wholeheartedly feel that this game is super accessible to a wide range of audiences, whether it be for its strong writing, its simple but engaging gameplay, its characters, or whatever. If you're looking for a mechanically simple but hella interesting and entertaining game, I urge you to check this game out. You can find Zero Escape the Nonary games, which includes both 999 and its sequel Virtue's Last Reward, on PS4 and Steam, which features some visual updates, a couple mechanical improvements, and added voice acting. Alternatively, you can also pick up the original 999 on DS, though I do heavily recommend getting the newer version of it if possible. There's also some bug fixes. And I'll close by saying that there is one more point that I wanted to bring up, namely the game's music, and specifically one track. But I feel like it needs to be heard in context to be truly and fully appreciated. Lord knows that whenever I think of that song, it still hits me hard. So I'll leave you with that tease. Play 999. Get to the number 9 door, and then you can hear it.
I might get wet.
What?
Down there. I'd get soaking wet.
What?! A big thank you to Sam Hall, as well as my other Patreon supporters. Have you played any of the Nonary games? Let me know what you thought in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, it really does help me out. And if you get a moment, check out my Patreon and consider becoming a supporter to help me make more and better content. Until next time, I'm CJ Pecor, the Angry Avocado, and I still don't have a sign-off.